Hey everyone. So, I had a very intense message. Super intense. So, it was actually sharing with me about, I don't know who delivers these messages. I just know divine. I know there's a council. And before I did all my research and before, this Council of 9 talk or Council of 12, I always knew the constituents was always the council, the divine council. So long story short, it was sharing with me, I was in my dance class doing a class just now. And a lot of the things that I was going through in my awakening experience, I was questioning the powers that be. I was like, why am I going through all this stuff? Like, why the suffering? Why do we have to suffer? And we're the light. And the reason or the answer that was delivered to me was because it says that is the test. It isn't a test of righteousness where you have to be perfect. It's really the test of, there goes my channel messages, download. It was really about enduring. Hey, you're not driving properly. Get it together. Anyway, sorry. I'm on PCH, the infamous PCH, you guys. So, long story short, it was telling me that people who endure a lot of darkness and affliction are those who could probably sustain it, but it is their life test to continue to do their work in their light. So, a lot of times when you guys are seeing, or when we see like celebrities or music artists doing, all kinds of funky stuff, but then we always say, why are they mocking God? It's not because they're mocking God. It was actually because they're still holding on to their light even though they're playing the game of dark at the same time. It's like when you know how to do the two. I just became aware of this because me being a dance instructor, I'm listening to all that crappy music. Some of it's fun, Cardi B, and a lot of it's manipulative, right, and addictive. Some sounds have frequency, and frequency is all hermetic code. There's a triangle in the sky. Oh my gosh. This one actually looks like a bell. So, in a nutshell, come back. I know, I need parts and service. Whatchamacallit? So in a nutshell, we have to be people to not judge, is what I'm saying. Because we don't really know technically why, but we can just assume and make guesstimates. But to the point of this whole message about before duality. So, I don't know, maybe it was my dream. I couldn't remember when I woke up, but I did remember right now that I was questioning, because I'm reading the book of Enoch, and it's kind of triggering stuff. It's weird. So, they call it the sons of God, sons of heaven. And I was thinking about, just me thinking, wasn't channeled, but it could be channeled, that they were all just men. All the angels, all the archangels, there was 200 of them, were men. And they were created in the image of Creator, of God, the Father. Then you have Earth, which had, the women who could probably procreate without a man. Probably didn't have, it's just kind of weird when you think about the beginning of time. How did it exist? Is it possible? I'm starting now to be able to tap into that, which is strange because of all the drama and weirdness that happens in my personal life. I'm still being given these messages, and I'm being reviewed and shown different things because I'm holding on to the test. I'm still, kicking butt with this test. So I was thinking, okay, we have Men Above with Uriel, who I believe to be Enlil, an Anunnaki. There's a connection between Uriel and... It's weird because Uriel then became Faniel without wings. So, that's how I also connect Lucifer to Uriel and to Enlil. And you don't see a lot of Enlilism. You see Enki. Why? Because Enki still had his wings and he held the wisdom. So I'll tell that in another story. But now we're just talking about the men above and the women below, and how dualism may have started because you had all this talk about the bridal chamber in the Bible. You talk about this bride and groom, which are Christ, right? So if Christ is the groom, we are the bride. So all these different things that you needed, basically everything before 500 years ago needed to have male, female. Now, as you can tell by reality and transgender dialogue and LGBT dialogue, that our opposition, the powers that shouldn't be, are telling us right now that there's a collapse of dualism. There is no more need of male, female. It's all becoming one. Like, even for me, in my dance classes, I'm learning how androgynous I am, how a feminine song comes on and I'm walking like a woman. And then a more masculine hip-hop song comes on and I'm like, I can flip-flop and shift myself back and forth between different energies. It's because I'm catering to the energy, the frequency of the song. Kind of like it. One day I'll do this to you guys. I can conglomerate a whole mix of songs from different artists, and I can probably mimic their walk and the way they dance. Because I've been studying the way their posture and poise is, but their music and connecting to the frequency, you can actually... So there's actually a little secret behind music and song and singing too. If you hear a certain song at a certain frequency, as long as you resonate on a high vibration, you can actually sing just like that artist. Ariana Grande is a perfect example of tapping into that hermetic secret. Anyways, so we're back on topic of men above, women below. Then you have this idea of the men wanting to, get with those girls. I gotta get with those girls, yo. So maybe they were too, and maybe there was a lot of homosexuality with the angelics and the ethereal, in the ether. That's probably why they said homosexuality was a sin, because it didn't allow focus. It didn't allow, and I'm speaking from my own experience, it gets in the way of the work. It's not to say, well, you're going to go to hell because you... Like, I can debunk that right now, because homosexuality, homo alone means same, right? No, it doesn't. Homo means human. You guys can Google it. Google schmoogle poogle. Homo means human. Sexuality is sex. It's preference. It's gender. So if you have human sex, human gender, human interaction, if you wanted to put it into an adverb, humanness, being human-like. So if you are an angel and you're acting like a human, therefore you are acting in a homosexual manner, then you know what, you can't be in my heaven. I need to put you on that earth in that third density where you can be a homosexual. So I've tried to put all this together because ministers and people are not getting this correct at all. And this is coming from a very wise, I guess I chose to be a gay man in this consciousness, but how could I be in such light with a little bit of shade and still be who I am? How could I resonate with so many different people with my light and still be, this orientation? So I try to look at it as, if the Father were to create someone in his divine image, he will never destroy himself, right? He'll never condemn himself. Like, you can't. After you've created, you've reseated yourself, you've laid this Christ anointing on someone, and then their life journey spirals out of control, right? So why would that be? Because God never, or the Father never walked in these corners from a heavenly perspective. He had to have a human form, human versions of himself to experience all of the four corners of the earth. So that's essentially what the test is. And it took me to figure out, hey, no one's on this topic at all. So it must be divine, and it must be direct from the Father. Because I questioned something. I keep it personal what I question. But I was just really fed up. I was just like, I'm tired of going through, like, if I meet someone, regardless if it's like a date or a friend or a Facebook friend or someone, a client comes to my sessions, they bring their timeline onto me, and I'm seeing their timeline in my life, and I'm getting worn out. Like, I don't want that kind of it's like, I don't want to die, which I'm not, but I don't want to end up being hospitalized because of other people's timelines. You know what I mean? So that was the result, was I was being shown why it happens that way. Anytime you collapse the masculine, feminine, it all does become one. And I'm learning that people who are not one in oneness or a collective, their exchange, like, I'm taking on their dualism. In exchange, they are taking a piece of my unity. And it's fine, because unity will always expand itself. I try to think of an example of that. It's kind of like those TV shows where the superhero, chops the enemy in half, and then the enemy that you thought was going to die becomes two pieces, and then you chop those two and they become four, and you chop those two, it becomes 8. So that's how our unity of our light works. And I noticed that yesterday too, because someone next to me in my class was starting to feel hot. Like, she was just like, oh my gosh, like, what's going on? And the person on my left didn't feel it. So I was just like, why do I do that to people unintentionally? Because I'm full of unity. I try to be very androgynous, especially when I dance. You can see the feminine. And that's helping someone with a masculine energy deconstruct and become a whole oneness. So I'm going to watch this person and see how feminine she becomes in the next couple months. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So going back to my storyline, those men come down to earth and they seated themselves with the women. Why? Because they were curious. Or let's say they didn't have body parts at all. They were hermaphroditic. I think angels were at that time. And then God is kind of like, uh-oh. I don't know. It's just a theory. It could be mixed with a message. Because some of these were like really, really tall beings, right? I don't even want to go there. But anyways, these women on Earth basically seeded the Earth with these species, this race. And therefore you have the beginning of the Titans, the beginning of the Olympians, the beginning of Greek mythology, the beginning of Roman mythology. Thing about Roman mythology is you have a lot of the constellation planets, and Greek is more of the sons of those planets, or the interpretation of those planets. Like, for example, Mercury was Hermes. So if you do a lot of research on Roman mythology and Greek mythology, you'll find a connection. Also, I'm working on studying a lot of the Hermeticism, because I feel called to be led to look into something. So I've been doing a lot of research. I've been putting my own personal bills I have to pay aside so I can read. But yeah, if you guys are on Facebook, I have this page called Modern Day Hermetics, and I'm just starting from the beginning and I'm leading up to now. So Modern Day Hermetics has a lot to do with the beginning of time. Thoth, the Egyptian pharaoh, Hermes, the god of life, I believe it was, but he was also a trickster. He was also a double crosser. Anyways, but back to topic, and to finish this, what I'm saying is, there's a license plate with a 666 in front of me. Maybe I should cut the video right now. Anyways, yeah, but that just leaves you guys with the thought process of the beginning before the Garden of Eden. And then you have the garden, which was the reset after all that craziness. And then after the garden, you have the Anunnaki, who tried to take Eve and Adam and make them Osiris and Isis. And then you see the collapse of Osiris, and you see him being rebuilt as Horus. Horus would be, Horus, the last part of him, I didn't even think of this until right now. The last part of Horus was his pee-pee, allegedly. And so Isis didn't, I don't know if you guys know about Egyptian history, but Osiris had basically died because Ra, his brother, killed him. And then Ra basically became the